Cryle. First encounter. A senior member of the Undying, known as the Bearer of the Burning Quill, who coordinates his orders' research into Ultima from their headquarters in the Dalmacian village of Tabor. At his liege lord Joshua's command, he lends his and his order's strength to Clive. Following the tragedy at Mickleburg. A senior member of the Undying, known as the Bearer of the Burning Quill, he and his order devote their lives to the service of the Phoenix, and do not fear death so long as it comes in the course of their duties. Though Clive takes exception to what appears at first glance a pointless waste of human life, the two come to see each other eye to eye, Cryle expressing a deep gratitude for the regard Clive has shows his fallen comrades. Attendant to Margrace. First encounter. Servant of a man who goes by the name Lord Margrace. Together, they travel across the Twins to some unknown end. Attendant to Joshua, unmasked. Companion and protector of Joshua Rosfield, dominant of the Phoenix. As loyal as she is dangerous, her blade is ever at the ready for anyone who might mean her master ill, and her tonics ever at hand to heal the sickly prince's hurts. Joshua addresses her by the name Yote, but it is unclear whether this is her true name or another pseudonym. Yote, Undying. A member of the Undying, a secret society sworn to protect and serve the Rosfields of Rosaria, and the dominant of the Phoenix, who was also born in their line. After her order rescued Joshua Rosfield from the ruins of Phoenix Gate and nursed him back to health, Yote was tasked by her order to accompany and protect him on his journey to uncover the truth of Ultima. A greater duty. A member of the Undying, a secret society sworn to protect and serve the Rosfields of Rosaria and the dominant of the Phoenix, who is always born in their line. While it is her sworn duty to serve and protect Joshua Rosfield, her true feelings for him run far deeper. Even after Joshua relieved her of her obligation to protect him and tasked her to protect Clive's hideaway, instead she still worries for the sickly prince's health. Elwyn Rosfield, first encounter. Archduke of the Grand Duchy of Rosaria and father of Clive and Joshua, loved by his people for his steadfast leadership both at home and on the battlefield, which he put to good effect in quelling the rebellious northern territories. Warming the throne. Archduke of the Grand Duchy of Rosaria and father of Clive and Joshua, Elwyn was born before his father, the previous dominant of the Phoenix, passed away, so he did not inherit the Icon's powers. Instead, he devoted himself to the study of swordcraft and statesmanship, that he might lead his country from the front, which he did to wide acclaim, in leading his armies in quelling the rebellious northern territories. After the fall of Phoenix Gate, late Archduke of the Grand Duchy of Rosaria and father of Clive and Joshua, Elwyn's reign ended when he was beheaded by servants of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque in their ignoble attack on Phoenix Gate. Known not only for his inspiring leadership and skill with the blade, but his disapproval of the mistreatment of bearers, his legacy lives on in all those who oppose imperial rule in what remains of Rosaria. A hidden past. Late Archduke of the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, and father of Clive and Joshua. During his reign, he strove to bring an end to the mistreatment of bearers and his people's reliance on magic, a mission that he knew would meet with fierce opposition from the court of nobility, and would not be achievable within his lifetime. That his sons might follow in his footsteps, he fashioned for them a pair of matching armbands to give them strength when all stood against them. Annabel Rosfield, first encounter. Duchess of Rosaria, wife of Archduke Elwyn, mother to Clive and Joshua. While she adores her younger son, she treats Clive and Jill with naught but thinly veiled contempt. At Rosalith Castle, Duchess of Rosaria, wife of Archduke Elwin and mother to Clive and Joshua. It was not only her beauty but her connection to a bloodline that produced many previous dominants of the Phoenix that led to her being proposed as a bride for the young Archduke. Indeed, the two are cousins, having known from a young age that her purpose in life was to preserve her Phoenix-bearing bloodline. She dotes on Joshua and scorns Clive. After the fall of Phoenix Gate, Duchess of Rosaria, wife of Archduke Elwin and mother to Clive and Joshua. It was ever her purpose in life to preserve her Phoenix-bearing bloodline, for which reason she betrayed her husband that she might enter in league with a force she judged the mightier, the Holy Empire of Sanbreque. It was Annabelle's treachery that led to the disaster at Phoenix Gate. Annabelle Lesage, after the annexation of Rosaria. Former Duchess of Rosaria, now Empress of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque. It was ever her purpose in life to preserve her Phoenix-bearing bloodline, for which reason she betrayed her husband, that she might enter in league with the force she judged the mightier. Now she rules over Rosaria as viceroy of the imperial province, which she rules with a cruelty and contempt for the base born that was unknown in Archduke Elwin's day. As Holy Empress, Empress of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, formerly the Duchess of Rosaria, before she betrayed her nation and gifted it to the empire. For a short while after the fall of the duchy, she was taken into the protection of the imperial crown, a pretense that ended with her bargain remarriage to Emperor Sylvester, the birth of Prince Olivier, and her return to the rule over Rosaria as viceroy. Upon Olivier's ascension, Empress and Mistress of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque and viceroy of the imperial province of Rosaria, which she rules with the iron fist. She also long labored to see her son Prince Olivier seated on his father's throne, a plan that comes to fruition after she schemes with Hugo Kupka to bring an end to the Dalmacia's long siege of Twindside and sees this triumph ascribed to the young prince. Death. Former Empress of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque. After the fall of Rosaria and the death of Archduke Elwin, she remarried Emperor Sylvester and bore him a son, Olivier. It was her dream that together with Sylvester she should found a new bloodline, one blessed by both Bahamut and the Phoenix. Alas, her dream was to be crushed in the wreckage of the Crystalline Dominion, when a maddened Dion slew Olivier, and she was to end her life before the disbelieving eyes of the sons she had betrayed. Rodney Murdoch. First encounter. Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army. Not only is he a skilled warrior and loyal guardian of the Rosfield household, he is also a fine tutor indeed. It was he who trained Clive in the secrets of swordplay. While he may be a hard taskmaker, his belief and trust in the shields that serve under him make him a much-loved leader. At Rosalith Castle. Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army, outranked only by Archduke Elwin, who is not only his liege lord, but his firm friend. The two share an unshakable bond of trust, Elwin consulting with Rodney on all military matters. The Knight of Flames. Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army, outranked by his only firm friend, Elwin. Murdoch and his shields accompanied Elwin and Joshua to Phoenix Gate to perform the rite of the ancestral communion, only to be set upon first by Imperial infiltrators, then a second shadowy icon of fire. Within those flames, Murdoch was engulfed. Hidden Truce. Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army, outranked only by his firm friend Archduke Elwin. When Clive manifested into Ifrit during the attack on Phoenix Gate, Murdoch lost his life to the infernal icon's flames. Hannah Murdoch, wife of Rodney Murdoch, Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army. Since her marriage, she has resided in the Murdoch Manor in Eastpool. At Murdoch Manor, wife of Rodney Murdoch, Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army. Since her marriage, she has resided in the Murdoch Manor in Eastpool, remaining there even after her husband's death at Phoenix Gate. She gladly welcomes Clive and Jill into her home, going so far as to gift Clive a set of clothes that once belonged to his father, a reminder of happier times that she would rather lived on the motor in a closet. Death. Wife of Rodney Murdoch, Lord Commander of the Rosarian Army. Since her marriage, she resided in the Murdoch Manor in Eastpool, remaining there even after her husband's death at Phoenix Gate. Alas, her time was also to be cut short at the hands of the villainous servants of Empress Annabella. Oscar, first encounter. Nephew of Rodney Murdoch, late commander of the Rosarian Army. Though he served under Sir Wade in the Guardians of the Flame, he had always dreamed of following in his uncle's footsteps and squiring to a scion of the Rosfields. His wish is granted when Clive accepts him as a squire and brings him back to the hideaway that he might learn from Sid the Outlaw's example. After reclaiming Eastpool, nephew of Rodney Murdoch, late commander of the Rosarian Army, Clive accepted him as a squire and brought him back to the hideaway, that he might learn from Sid the Outlaw's example. However, after the Guardians of the Flame took back Eastpool, Clive bade Oscar return to the village where his Aunt Hannah is buried and lend his strength to the restoration efforts. Sir Wade, first encounter. A loyal shield of Rosaria, chosen by Lord Commander Rodney Murdoch to accompany Clive on his expedition to Stillwind. Once but a low-born page, Wade was inspired to join the ranks of a woodpile fell on him, and his life was saved by young Joshua. The Knight of the Flames. A loyal shield of Rosaria, chosen by Lord Commander Rodney Murdoch to accompany Clive on his expedition to Stillwind. Though he did all he could to return the favor that he owed to Joshua for saving his life as a boy during the attack on Phoenix Gate, Wade was to meet the same fate as the prince. As the leader of the Guardians of the Flame, a loyal shield of Rosaria, though he was thought to have died during the attack on Phoenix Gate, he somehow survived not only the disaster, but the imperial conquest that followed. He and other like-minded shields took up residence in the abandoned Lazarus and formed the Guardians of the Flame, brothers in arms who fight for the restoration of the duchy. Joining forces with Martha, a loyal shield of Rosaria and leader of the Guardians of the Flame, who fight against imperial rule in the duchy, sheltering bearers from the Black Shield's cullings. After these guys turned, their base in the Lazarus district outside Port Isolde was swallowed by an ether flood, leading them to seek shelter in Martha's Rest. In return for Martha's hospitality, the Guardians aid the Blood Axis in defending the village. After reclaiming Eastpool, a loyal shield of Rosaria and the leader of the Guardians of the Flame, who fought to see the duchy restored after Clive assisted him and his fellow Guardians in driving the bandits from Eastpool. They and the bearers they saved from the Black Shields, Persians, relocated to the village, where they prepared not only to rebuild it, but to rekindle the spirit of Rosaria. As Warden of Eastpool, a loyal shield of Rosaria, and leader of the Guardians of the Flame who fought to see the duchy restored. In Eastpool, he finds a new purpose, not to merely lead his Guardians against their enemies, but to lead his village in pursuit of a brighter future for man and bearer both. Sir Tyler, first encounter. A loyal shield of Azaria and scion of a noble family, Tyler followed in his father's footsteps in entering the service of the duchy, rising to the position of right-hand man to the Lord Commander. He was chosen by Lord Marduk to accompany Clive on his expedition to Stillwind, a level head who could be trusted to not only obey the young Lord Marquis's orders and keep him safe, but to help the fiery Sir Wade in line. The Knight of Flames, a loyal shield of Azaria who accompanied Clive on his expedition to Stillwind. Though he did everything in his power to assist Joshua and Archduke Elwin's flight from Phoenix Gate on the night of the attack, his years of distinguished service were to come to a close when he was swallowed by the flames of the rampaging Phoenix. Byron Rosfield, younger brother of the late Archduke Elwin and warden of Port Isolde, a thriving trading port in the south of Rosaria. Byron inherited a small fortune from his noble family, which he built into a large one by virtue of his mercilent wails and adventurous spirit. There is not a trading house nor a tap house in Valestie and beyond that does not have a tale to tell of Lord Byron Rosfield. In Port Isolde, younger brother of the late Archduke Elwin and warden of Port Isolde. After the duchy was incorporated into the empire and Byron stripped of his titles, he shut himself away in his manor, and gladly volunteered every year of the onerous taxes and tariffs with which he was newly burdened, all to avoid drawing the empire's ire, and to keep their attention from his support for the Guardians of the Flame. Joining Clive's cause, younger brother of the late Archduke Elwin and warden of Port Isolde, though he kept his head low during the dark days of the imperial rule of Azaria. Now that the Empress Annabella is dead and his nephews returned from the grave, he strikes out once more, enlisting his old friend Eugene Havel, Dalmatian Field Marshal, to Clive and Joshua's cause. As founding member of the Trinity, younger brother of the late Archduke Elwin and warden of Port Isolde, together with Field Marshal Eugene Havel and Master Quentin of Lothswing, he founds the Triunity, an accord that sets out how the nobles, armies, and common folk of Valestie shall come together to see the crisis that the blight the realm want of food, water, security, and shelter ended and order restored. Rutherford, first encounter. Manservant to Lord Byron Rosfield, his daily duties touch all aspects of running his master's manor, whether that be the welcoming of guests, the preparation of meals, or the polishing of the intrepid nobleman's trophy collection. Out and about. Manservant to Lord Byron Rosfield, in normal circumstances, his daily duties touch all aspects of running his master's manor. Of late, however, Byron has baited him the safety of Port Isolde to conduct a survey into the political, military, and economic situation of Storm, a task in which he has enjoyed the assistance of several of his fellow butlers to the nobility. Sylvester Lesage, Emperor of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, who won his throne at least partially by virtue of his son Dion having awakened as the dominant of Bahamut. Following Olivier's ascension, Emperor Demetrius of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, in the wake of the events of Phoenix Gate, he married Annabel Rosfield and sired a second son, Olivier, with her. Annabel and Olivier's influence in the affairs of the imperial court was to only grow over the years, until Sylvester was finally convinced to surrender his throne to the young prince, announcing him to be the latest in the long line of earthly incarnations of Gregor. Death. Emperor of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, who plotted with Annibal Rosfield to slay Archduke Elwin of Rosaria and unite their nations under the imperial banner. Together they bore a son, Olivier, to whom Sylvester was beguiled into forfeiting his throne. Much to his first son's displeasure, Sylvester lost his life to Dion's spear when he leapt to Olivier's defense in the throne room of the twin-side capital. Olivier Lesage. First encounter. Second son of the Emperor Sylvester of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, and the third of Empress Annabella, making him half-brother to both Prince Dion and Clive. His mother has involved him in the affairs of the imperial court since he was a small child. Following Olivier's ascension. Second son of Emperor Sylvester of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, and third of Empress Annabella. After Annabella's machinations saw the Dalmatic siege of the crystalline dominion broken and the victory ascribed to the young prince, Sylvester was convinced to surrender his throne to their beloved son, anointing him Emperor Olivier, first of his name. Death. Son of Sylvester and Annabella Lesage. Thanks in large part to his mother's machinations, Olivier was anointed Emperor of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, a fact that triggered his half-brother Prince Dion to launch a coup against him. It was Olivier's sinister goading that drove Dion to madness and led to his own demise. Pierced through the heart by Dion's spear, as the boy died, his body crumbled into dust, proved that he had become naught but another puppet of Ultima. The High Cardinal. First encounter. First and foremost of the 5 cardinals who make up the Council of Elders, second only to the Holy Emperor and the imperial government, it is his role to lead the council in governing Sanbreque and the Empire's stead, and providing the latter does not overrule his decision, his authority is absolute. Following the destruction of Twinside. First and foremost of the 5 cardinals who made up the Council of Elders, second only to the Holy Emperor and the imperial government. After the fall of the crystalline dominion and the collapse of such government, his eminence reappeared in Northreach, now going by his noble title, the Duke of Oriflamme. He drafted both the soldiery and the common folk into his plans to turn the town into a new capital for a new Sanbreque. For Northreach. First and foremost of the 5 cardinals who made up the Council of Elders, second only to the Holy Emperor and the imperial government. After the fall of the crystalline dominion and the collapse of said government, his eminence reappeared in Northreach, planning to turn the town into a capital for a new Sanbreque. However, when the people rallied behind Isabel instead, he realized that he must work with the common folk, not lord over them. Sabine, first encounter. Only daughter of the Duke of Oriflamme, who escaped from the disaster at Twinside and took refuge in Northreach. Her extensive education in all matters, spiritual and political, as well as overbearing demeanor, rivaled that of her father. Her opinion on the Duke's plans to fortify Northreach at the townspeople's expense, however, differs from this greatly, as she attempts to join Isabella's help to rally the people against him. Fighting for Northreach. Only daughter of the Duke of Oriflamme, who fomented revolt against her father's plans to fortify Northreach at the town people's expense. After the Duke is convinced of the error of his ways, the two are reconciled and pledge to work together with the people of Northreach to build a town for all of her citizens. Tiamat, first encounter. A bearer in the service of the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, Tiamat is the leader of the elite assassin squadron to which Wyvern is assigned. the Bastards. Their latest mission to take the head of the dominant of Shiva. To this end, they infiltrate the Niza Defile, where the forces of the Republic of Dhalmekia and the Iron Kingdom are aligned against each other. Though none know his true name, rumor has it that the man now known as Tiamat was born of a scion of a noble Sanbreq's family and abandoned to fate after his powers awakened. Death. A bearer in the service of the Holy Empire of Sanbreq, Tiamat, or the man who now bears the name, is the Lord of the Bastards, a squadron of elite assassins. It was a mission to take the head of Shiva's dominant in the Niza Defile that his subordinate wyvern, real name Clive Bosfield, turned upon him and cut him down. Biased. Second longest serving of the Bastards, an elite band of slave assassins in service of the Holy Empire of Sanbreq. He and his sergeant Tiamat fought alongside each other for many a year, and Bias trusted him with his life. Alas, there was little Tiamat could do to save him from the boulder that was to fall from the skies during their ill-fated mission to infiltrate the Dhalmekian Republic and take the head of Shiva's dominant. Avis, a branded soldier from the Holy Empire of Sanbreq who served alongside Wyvern. None know his true name. He and his band of elite assassins were tasked with taking the head of the dominant of Shiva, but he was to lose his life to a crusader's axe in the course of the mission. Sir Terence. Attendant to the Crown Prince. First encounter. Second in command of the Dragoons, the foremost fighting force of the Holy Empire of Sanbreq. His sword remains ever at the ready should anyone be foolish enough to make an attempt on the life of his liege lord Prince Dion. Sir Terence, by Dion's side. Second in command of the Dragoons, the foremost fighting force of the Holy Empire of Sanbreq. His sword remains ever at the ready should anyone be foolish enough to make an attempt on the life of his liege lord Prince Dion. Born to a family of minor nobles, Terence entered the prince's service as a squire before climbing the dragoons' ranks. He and Dion are lovers. At the sack of Randalah. Is second in command of the dragoons. Terence is both Prince Dion's faithful bodyguard and his lover. He joined the prince in his ill-started coup in the Crystalline Dominion. After somehow surviving the disaster that followed, went with him again in the relief of Randalah. It is here that Dion finally released Terence from his service, begging him to care for the orphan girl Kiel, that those to whom he is indebted might be spared further danger. Dhalmekian Chief Strategist. First encounter. Chief Strategist and former Field Marshal of the Dhalmekian Republic, while there was time he took personal command of his troops. Hugo Kupka's rise to prominence led to his being recalled from the Battle of the reason of his advancing age, for which he bears the vainglorious dominant a deep-seated grudge. At the sack of Randalah. Eugene Havel. Former Field Marshal of the Dhalmekian Republic, while there was a time he took personal command of his troops, Hugo Kupka's rise to prominence led to his being recalled from the battlefield by reason of his advancing age. However, it was the battlefield that was to return to him when a horde of Akashic attacked Randalah, and with the minister either stupefied or slain, he was left with no option but to coordinate its defense. As founding member of the Triunity, former Field Marshal of the Dhalmekian Republic, at the insistence of his old friend and rival Byron Rosfield, he was convinced to return to the front lines in the defense of the realm, using his old military connections to bring the dissipated armies of Valesteed back under his control. The Republican Prime Minister. First encounter. Leader of the Dhalmekian Parliament and eldest and most experienced of its members, those elected by the states of the Republic, plus the dominant of Titan, who served as an official advisor. Alas, Hugo Kupka does not take kindly to his advice being ignored. At Randalar, leader of the Dalmakian parliament, not seen since the collapse of the Republican government following the death of Kupka and the fall of the Fang. Whether he was killed in the chaos or fled to save his own skin, no one knows. The mysterious Watcher. Scion of a lesser noble family of Dalmatia, tasked by Hugo Kupka to trace the whereabouts of Sid the Outlaw, the man he believes slew Benedetto Harmon. His investigation led him to Eastpool, where he overhears Clive and Gav's conversation and follows them back to Sid's hideaway. Benedetto's right hand. Second in command of Valu's Royal Intelligencers, serving under Benedetto Harmon, with whom he shares a deep bond of trust. Death. Girulf. Second in command of Valu's Royal Intelligencers, serving under Benedetto Harmon, killed by footpads while attempting to evacuate the stricken Benedetta from the collapsing Caer Norvent. High Priest Imran, Patriarch of the Crystalline Orthodox, who conducts his sinister ceremonies in the Kamrish, the holy sanctuary built around the heart of Drake's breath, a zealous believer in the Orthodoxy's teachings that the bearers and dominants are unclean creatures of born sin. Death. High Patriarch of the Crystalline Orthodox, a zealous believer in the Orthodoxy's teachings that bearers and dominants are unclean creatures born of sin, and conducted the sacrificial slaughter of bearers, claiming that he was merely cleansing them of their corruption, slain by Jill Warwick on her return to the Iron Kingdom, in answer not only for the crimes he committed, but those he forced her to commit in the name of his crusade. Marley. Born in the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, Marley was kidnapped by the Ironblood during their invasion 18 years before and taken back to the island of Drustinus, where she was forced to serve as a handmaiden for the priests of the Crystalline Orthodox. There she met the young Jill Warwick and took her under her wing, caring for the terrified child as if she were the mother of Jill never knew. The Hooded Man. First encounter. The Dominant of Fire. A mysterious figure who was first seen amid the chaos of the Imperial invasion of Fenris Gate, immediately before the appearance of the second Icon of Fire, the very icon that slew the heir to the Ducal throne. Clive believes the man to be the Dominant who murdered his brother and has sworn to take his revenge. At Caer Norvent, a mysterious man that many believe to be a Dominant of Fire. He is rarely seen without his heavy robe nor his loyal attendant. The two journey together far and wide across the realm to an unknown end. The Hooded Man. At Ifrit's Awakening, a mysterious man that many believe to be a Dominant of Fire. Clive first saw him at Fenris Gate on the night of the Imperial invasion, and for years believed him to be the Dominant of the icon that killed his brother. But to Clive's internal Chargon, he is proved otherwise. Kiel. First encounter. Medicine Girl. An orphan girl who pays for her bread by making and selling medicines. Kiel. After finding Dion. An orphan girl who pays for her bread by making and selling medicines. So travels took her from Dalmatia to the Crystalline Dominion, where she nearly lost her life and the city was all but destroyed by Bahamut. After the flames died down, she labored to mend the wounds of the injured townspeople, eventually coming across a collapsed Prince Dion who she nursed back to health. Ada. First encounter. A young woman with child who made her home in the Waluda village of Ellisdale and is now the only surviving member. At the Hideaway. a young woman with child who made her home in the Waluda village of Elistel. After the Archie sky spread across the land, her fellow villagers turned to Kashyyyk and departed from Revier, leaving her alone, afraid, and in hiding. But fortune, she was found by Clive and Gav, who took her back to the safety of the hideaway. It is speculated that the reason she survived is because the child growing inside her is a bearer, and thus more able to resist the effects of ether. First encounter, Barnabas' mother. The mother of King Barnabas of Waloed, or at least an Ultima summoned illusion of her as His Majesty remembers her in life. Hidden Truths. One of the few surviving descendants of children of the Zambekis, who fled from Valisthi and took refuge in the outer continent, only returning generations later. She and her clan were devout believers in the Circle of Malice, whose teachings are instilled in her son, teachings and memories that he treasures to this day. Alas, her beliefs were also to prove her downfall, as she was killed in a raid by the followers of a rival religion. Mars the Chronicler. Basic information. For a fable scholar of Valestine, history and legend, even to this day, much of the surviving knowledge of the distant antiquity of the twins issues from his quill. In his later years, his writings attracted fierce criticism from certain scholarly circles, which resulted in him removing himself from public life. As chronicler. For a fable scholar of Valestine, history and legend, it was Mars' writings that inspired Hippocrates to pursue his own career as a scholar of all things. Valestine, in his later years, he delved into the hidden history of Ultima and the Circle of Malice, but alas, his findings were denounced as baseless speculation in certain scholarly circles. As a result, Mars' theories received little widespread notice and were all about stricken from the history record. A hidden past. For a fabled scholar of Valestine history and legend, when Hippocrates was but a boy, Mars visited his village on the outer continent. Perhaps seeing something of himself in the young scholar-to-be, the great master took him under his wing. However, their time together was soon to come to an end, for one day Mars and his journal were gone, leaving nothing but a note behind, one which read, "Seek knowledge." The young Hippocrates took these words to heart. The Silver Mane, chieftain of the Northern Territories and Jill Warwick's father. After his homeland's raids into Rosaria were finally quelled by the duchy, his daughter was taken as a ward of the Rosfield family to ensure that he would never rise arms against them again. Ultima Unmasked. An otherworldly being that Clive encountered in the inner sanctum of Drake's head. He addressed Clive as Mutos before attempting to merge their consciousness. However, Clive was able to summon the will to resist the creature before Joshua returned from the dead to imprison it in a cage of flame that he sealed away in his own heart. Following the destruction of Twinside, the otherworldly being behind much of the tragedy and turmoil that has plagued Valisthi, he means to claim Clive as his vessel, Mutos, by purging his will, a will strengthened by the ties of consciousness that bind Clive with others. He unleashes primogenesis upon the world, shrouding it in darkness and turning thousands of Kashyyyk, that these ties of consciousness might at last be loosened. Joshua's findings. The otherworldly being behind much of the tragedy and turmoil that has plagued Valisthi ultimately requires a vessel in which to inculcate his disembodied soul, and Clive's curious ability to absorb the powers of other icons suggests that he is the very Mutos that Ultima has long awaited. He wills Clive to absorb the other icons that his vessel might be perfected. To whom kings kneel. The otherworldly being behind much of the tragedy and turmoil that has plagued Valisthi, and the creature King Barnabas of Ulud worships as his god, ultimately requires a vessel in which to inculate his disembodied soul, and Clive's curious ability to absorb the power of other icons suggests that he is the very Muthos that Ultima has long awaited. He wills Clive to absorb the other icons that his vessel might be perfected. Within the interdimensional rift, one of a race of ancient godlike beings, it was their creation of magic that led to the rise and spread of the Blight. The few survivors of their race fleeing to unspoilt land of Valisthi to attempt to remake the world. For this, they created the Mother Crystals, to harvest huge amounts of ether and sow the seeds of humanity, that it might one day produce a vessel strong enough to channel it, that humans would one day develop wills of their own they did not foresee. Hidden truths. One of a race of ancient, godlike beings. Long ago, 16 survivors of this species journeyed to Valisthi on a ship called Origin, that they might lay the foundations for casting a supremely powerful spell, one that might revive their fallen brethren and remake the world. The Ultimas share a single consciousness and are able to combine their already immense powers into a singular transcendental form.